Hi, welcome to my final ISP video. This video consists of two parts. The first being a short film reel covering what I've done over the past year. That's in class and out of class. Of course, any violence or blood or anything you see that should not be happening in class was definitely not filmed in class. The second is the video tutorial / breakdown for the 11-second Earth explosion clip. So, if at any point of time you want to go to the beginning of the film reel, just click right over there. Or, if you want to go to the beginning of the Earth explosion breakdown, click right over there. So, if you're just about to click on the film reel, you don't have to click anywhere. It'll start in a few seconds. Enjoy. Let me start off by saying, your English is amazing. Sounds delicious.
Where'd you get it?
Hey!
Now, prison life is very structured, more than most people care Hi, here's the video breakdown / tutorial of the 11-second Earth explosion clip. So before I begin, I'm going to give you a chance to watch it first. So here it is. Okay, now that you've watched it, we're going to go into how it was made. So it was entirely made in After Effects, that's Adobe After Effects CS6, and using only JPEGs and no actual video files, all pictures. So to begin, we're going to go with the main comp. So this is the main composition, called it main, goes through the video, the explosions here. Okay, so we're going to go from the bottom down. So this is the background. There's the main background with the stars. We're going to turn that to be black. The main background with the stars, and the overlay background, which is actually the same thing, just with a Gaussian blur and a bit of levels and hue and saturation, just to change that around a bit. I'll go into more in depth in why I did that. For the astronaut, it's just an animation of an astronaut through here. Also has a Gaussian blur on it, give it a bit of depth of field. And I had to key out the black from behind because the image had black behind, so I had to key that out, and a bit of curves. So then the flare, I'm gonna quickly hide the Earth. So the flare is actually the sun. What it is it's an optical flare. It's an effect called an optical flare, and basically, just like a lens flare, you can move this and can move the sun around, and there are a lot of different options on There's custom presets, so you could have one like that, a lot of different ones. So we don't need that right now. So that's the sun, and throughout the video, the sun is actually animating just a bit. You can see the second part of we can see the lens flare moving just a bit. Now, next is the explosion. So this occurs when the Earth explodes. The explosion happens right around there. So that's the orange background, of course. No effects onto that. The little paper airplane, we're going to take that off. That's also when the Earth explodes. A little paper airplane flies out, also animated, similarly to the astronaut. What's next? So the blue shake is actually the emitting blue shake, I guess, like a wave that expands when the Earth explodes. So it goes like that. So this is actually the shake cutout. So basically, what it is during the explosion, we don't want the shake to be seen behind Earth. So we have the little cutout that's only there, but by the time Earth disappears, it's already out of the cutout, so we could see the full wave. So that has to be hidden. Now this is the camera. I'll go more in depth into that later. And this is motion blur. So what motion blur is, it just basically, it's called an effect called CC force motion blur, and it adds a bit of motion blur to the particles when they're flying out and throughout the whole video. So this is with the motion blur, and that would be without the motion blur. Of course, it's much sharper, but it's a lot less realistic. So that's that for the main comp. So now we're going to move on to the, so this is the blue shake. All it is blue solid cut out from the center with a light feather on the outside and a strong feather on the inside, and it just expands in our main video. So next is Earth. So this is just the spinning Earth with the alpha channel on the back for transparency, so we could put whatever we want behind it, and just spinning. And it is made out of these three separate composites. So if we open one up, this is just basically an image with moving clouds, and when we see it on our main render of the Earth, it looks like it's moving. It's made spherical using an effect called CC sphere. So it takes any plane JPEG that you put or any composition, and it turns it into a sphere. So we could put in where we want the light to be. We could put in the offset amount for the three different ones. So that's what that does. And what the reason it's rotating is just an animation within the CC sphere that allows it to rotate. And we have a light glow on it also on the sides. So that's that. Now back to the main comp. In our main comp, it is actually all 3D, which in After Effects basically means you're working with the Z-axis also, not only the X and Y, which allows you to go depth and use 3D cameras and stuff like that. So I'm going to explain how that works and how it's useful for our video in particular. So I'm going to actually disable everything and leave just the two backgrounds, except for the camera. I'm going to leave the camera because that's what we're mainly using. So the reason I actually have two backgrounds is because we're going to look at it in two views now. So here on the side we have our side view, our top view, and this is our active camera. So this is what the video will look like at the end, and this is what it looks like in 3D space. So this little thing is our camera, and what it does is it actually animates throughout the video. Now the reason we have two backgrounds is actually because the front background is a bit ahead, and the back background, it's actually not, we don't even need it to move. All we need is the front background to be a bit larger and a bit ahead, which allows us, when we look at it through the active camera, to have a bit of depth. You could see the back background is not moving and the stars are moving, while the cloudy looking front is moving. So that's why we have those two layers to differentiate when we're animating. So let's move on. The astronaut. Now the astronaut, he just flies in, and it's a pretty simple animation. You can actually look at it. So this is the path of our animation. Basically, he starts off here, not in the shot, and then he flies in, and then back out. All it is a Gaussian blur effect over it to make it look like make it have depth of field, and a key to take out the black of the original JPEG photo. So that's it. That goes in the beginning. So next, the flare I already explained. The explosion, pretty simple. Now for the plane, also similar to the astronaut, just an animation. So we can see it. 1 second. There it is. So for the plane, basically it starts off very small, and it animates in size, also in position, also in rotation. So he starts off facing the front, and he comes in, and he does a little flip, and animates out. Pretty simple. That's it for the plane. Now the Earth I'll get to last. For the shake and the shake cutout, I explained it before. All it is just this blue thing that expands, sort of like a wave. And motion blur explained. So now for the Earth, it's actually also a 3D layer, but that's not as important. The only reason it's a 3D layer is so when we move the camera up, it goes along with it. Now, with the Earth, how it works, all it has is it's just the same render we used in our Earth. We just put this into our main comp. All I did was resize it just a bit. And the main effect to make it shatter, we're going to have it in half resolution to see it a bit better. But to make it shatter, it's called the shatter effect. And basically it has a lot of specifications you could change around and tweak it around however you like. But basically what I did is I changed it to glass mode, so it looks like glass shattering. And I basically, up until here, I have to make it shatter at a certain point. So that's the radius. Basically, the radius, what it does is it sort of goes from the center, and it tells you how much of the Earth you would like to affect, how much of the total layer. So I had it expand at exactly this time. So we're just animating that frame, and boom, it explodes. So also the strength, I made it increase a bit in strength over here, just so it could be, well, a bit faster when it finishes. And that's basically it out of what I tweaked. Now everything else is just personal settings, whatever looks best to you. I had a bit of, I believe I had a bit of gravity. Yes, just 0.5 gravity. If I increase gravity to like 3, for example, it would fall much quicker. But I didn't like that because we're in space and there's really not that much gravity in space, and I wanted to have it expand in all directions. So that's the shatter effect. So that's really it. That's all it takes. Now, of course, what's very important is the timing. So we had the astronaut come in at 2 to 4 seconds, and the Earth explosion happens at 7 seconds, and the plane comes out, and a bit of just space at the end for opportunity to fade out or whatever the people I'm giving this to will need to do. So we're just going to put this back all in now. So just to see all the keyframes separately, really quickly, basically keyframes is what I animated. Every frame of, similarly to Flash, for example. So the camera, here you can see it starts off, so for the camera, just the position of a zoom in. Now the next thing, the blue shake, how I did the blue shake is just this blue layer, like I talked about before, and all I did was I rotated it in 3D space. I rotated in 3D space, so how I would do that, I just click the rotate, click the red, and you could rotate it around to whatever you need, and I animated the scale. So all I did was it starts off small, it gets bigger, and eventually it fades out. That would be the opacity. So next, the Earth, I actually had it in this Earth flare, actually it moves pretty fast, faster than I needed it to be. So what you would do is you would change the time remapping, you would choose a frame ahead, and then just slide all the way back. And also, I animated the scale of the Earth very slightly at the very end, just to have the pieces fly out faster. For the plane, of course, all I animated was just the position, the scale, and the rotation. For the explosion, I animated the opacity. So here, it comes in 100% opacity, fully opaque, and then it fades out because we don't need the sparks. For the flare, all I animated was the lens flare over here, going from up to down throughout. It's not very noticeable, but it helps to the general effect of realism and as if the sun and we're using a real camera. So for the astronaut, all I animated was the position. That's all I needed, and that's it. That's how the Earth explosion was made. All in After Effects. Not too difficult. Pretty time consuming though. Thanks for watching.